a lot has been made in the media about the rise of atheism, and they're using terms like new atheism or militant atheism or the rise of militant atheism to describe what's going on, and they point to certain events as supposedly mocking religion and this aggressive new atheism and lawsuits and all these sorts of things. And I talked a little bit about that in my thoughts on that in my video, The War on Christmas. So I'll post a link to that in the description. That is, of course, the infamous video which proves that I have Santa syndrome, of course. But the reason that I want to talk about this is because recently there was an article in the school paper of my former school about a group on campus that I used to belong to when I went there, called the Atheists, Agnostics, and Free Thinkers. And they, I believe, are a part of the Secular Student Alliance, which Healthyaddict works for and does fundraising for. So these sort of groups on campus are fairly common, and recently they held in the MLK Commons of the college a debaptism. Again, I will post a link in the description to a video on debaptism, and there's been actual news stories on this on more mainstream news, including a video. Somebody was interviewed, a YouTube user, I can't recall her name at the moment. I'll post a link in the description to that video as well. But my whole take on this of holding a debaptism, and of course the article is like, oh, it stirs controversy. And my general thoughts are, basically, I'm not against mocking or criticizing religion on any level, but I have one caveat. I think that it should be funny. I think that it should be no different than the sort of satire that we would see towards politics or towards anything else that you might want to, what would be the word, satirize or make fun of. So I have this t-shirt. I got it from t-shirthell.com. Sure, I'll post a link to that, I guess. Free advertisement from them. Jesus did it for the chicks. Now, the reason that I think this is funny is because just in our modern society, we have a tendency to attribute our ulterior motives to people who otherwise might have done quote-unquote great things. And so that's why I think this shirt's funny, because it's just it's taking the same sort of humor that we would have you know, in our normal day-to-day life, and just extending it to religion. It's just not making any sort of exemption from religion. And most people in humor are willing to go pretty far. But when you have something like a debaptism, and I don't know exactly what I would have said if I was still a part of the group and when they proposed this idea, but I don't really see that as necessarily all that funny. I don't see several things as either funny or even particularly constructive. I could say a lot about the sort of attitude towards theists that I think a lot of people, a lot of the new militant atheists are taking, and my sort of problems with that. But basically what it comes down to is some things are funny and some things are not. And when you have a special kind of ridicule for religion that it's exclusive to religion, and you wouldn't mock anything else in the same way, then at the very least you should understand why people might not find it funny. I definitely believe in the power of satire, though. The Onion, of all the things that I saw, people talking about the whole New York City Ground Zero Mosque, I think the best thing I saw in it was an article by The Onion. This is going to be a, you definitely need to check the description box of this video, because I'll post a link to that. In the article, the Onion article, it essentially is mocking willful ignorance. It's not there sitting there telling you about freedom of speech or lecturing people about tolerance, freedom of speech, any of these things. It's just mocking willful ignorance and people's knee-jerk reactions to it. And they did it, the Onion, some of their articles are lame, but when they have something spot on, it's spot on. And this article is one of those. Also, their article about New York City, and they had a video about Justin Bieber turning out to be a 51-year-old pedophile. And it's interesting the way that you have satire like that, where you have it teen idol who is basically selling what are essentially adult concepts to younger children, or there's this sort of subtly implied adult concepts to children and teenagers. So isn't this sort of and you know you have these people who are his handlers, who are putting out his image, who are crafting his songs and his performance and his lyrics. So you have all these middle-aged handlers, so why not just represent that literally as Justin Bieber turning out to be a 51-year-old pedophile in a mask posing as a teenager? That to me is the brilliance of satire. That is why Colbert is a genius. I know he has a team of writers, but he is a brilliant performer, just the way that he executes his sort of satire. And that really cuts things down in a way that open mockery just doesn't. When you're when you have a situation where you're putting people in a position where they feel offended and put off by something, what have you accomplished? Yeah, you've proven that you can piss people off. Congratulations. But when they can stop and laugh at their own religion and just sort of get a chuckle or be slightly offended and slightly uncomfortable, but still sort of see the humor behind it, that is disarming and much more effective in a way that open mockery just isn't. I don't think that that's a good tactic of just going around pissing people off. It's a bad strategy, and that's probably my biggest problem with it. I don't really care that much if people are offended, because I've sort of come to discover that some people are offended about the most trivial things, and it's like, get the fuck over it. But I just don't think that certain things are as effective as cutting clever satire and things which are actually funny. So if you happen to participate in any of these sort of things, really kind of ask yourself, would this be funny if it was in a non-religious context? Or just questions like that. Am I openly mocking and offending people, or is this actually funny? Because I think that is what we need to sort of continue to marginalize certain points of view. You don't go out and try and stamp them out with violence or laws against them. You just continually marginalize them to the point where people do feel comfortable essentially laughing at these things. And once you got people at that point, you don't have to pass any laws or burn any books or ram anything down anyone's throat. They're just finished at that point. When the majority of people are just laughing at it, they're done. It's pretty much game over, except for maybe a small fringe of people. And so I've already made my point. End of video. Goodbye. Get out of my fucking face.